And there's an interesting statistic. The ears are the bloodiest part. If something happens with the ears, they bleed more than any other part of the body. For whatever reason, the doctors told me that. I said, why is there so much blood? He said, it's the ears. They bleed more. So we learned something.
The ears are the bloodiest part of the human body. But aside from that, we've gotten very little official information about the former president's condition. Texas Congressman Ronny Jackson, who is Trump's White House doctor, has said the bullet in Trump's assassination attempt took off the top of Trump's ear. His son Eric said that the wound did not require stitches, but that is basically it. Joining me now is Dr. Vin Gupta. He's an MSNBC medical contributor and a critical care physician. Dr. Gupta, this seems like, given what we know of previous presidential nominees and current presidents, like an unusual blackout of medical information. I wonder if it seems unusual to you, and if what you would like to know about the president's condition.
Well, absolutely. Good evening, Alex. It's unusual given the gravity of the situation. And I'd say for your viewers, something to look up and research if you're interested. It's called a tangential gunshot wound. That's essentially what the president is saying happened here. He had a high velocity bullet from an AR-15 style weapon shoot directly at his head, missed penetrating his skull, but actually impacting the surrounding tissues, in this case, his ear. That's what we're being told. That's serious, Alex. I come from a military background. That predisposes, in some cases, to a traumatic brain injury. Over time, we may not see initial symptoms up front. There could have been signs of bleeding that maybe were not present on that initial CT scan that apparently was normal per whatever report we got, that summary report. There's a lot of potential impacts here that can impact his functioning if he's the next president, to his balance, to his hearing, again, that can manifest over time. So this is a big deal. Tangential gunshot wound. If this was indeed a bullet injury to the ear, this is a big deal. Tangential gunshot wounds, we see them again all the time in the armed forces. They can have secondary impacts and consequences.
Are there particular things you'd want to know about his treatment, either immediately after the assassination attempt or now?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, Eric Trump has said that there's no stitches needed. That's a big deal, because the implication then, Alex, is, well, gosh, they were able to control the bleeding from an impact that somehow took off a part of his ear. We're saying from an AR-15 style weapon. The kinetic impact to the body from that type of bullet from an AR-15 style weapon is massive. So if that was really a bullet injury, it should cause significant soft tissue damage. I want to say it'd be helpful for the American public to understand what was the degree of injury. Were they able to control the bleeding without stitches, just to confirm what Eric Trump is saying? What was that process like? Did they use things like Dermabond or Steri-strips to help? It would be helpful to understand the extent of injury, absolutely. And then did they do a cranial full neurologic exam? Is his hearing and is his balance, are they intact? We don't know.
Do you have, I do want to ask, just because the president talked at length about it. He said the ears are the bloodiest part of the body. There was a large volume of blood. He made note of that last night. Is that true?
No, I heard the same thing. I was watching as well. And, I don't know what anatomy textbook him and his docs are using, but that struck me as a bit nonsensical. You can say the lips or above the eyes, frankly, are more vascular. Certainly the heart is the most vascular part of the body. So if that were to bleed, that would be quite bloody. It was a random comment. It's not rooted in any actual evidence, but from a surface wound standpoint, any facial injury, the scalp, highly vascular, lips, of course, that's frankly more bloody. So, it was a random comment.
Well, there are obviously a lot of questions, some serious medical questions that we would hope we'll get a little bit more transparency on in the coming days and weeks. Dr. Vin Gupta, great to have your expertise. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you.